He then passes out, butt naked, leaving doo-doo streaks on my seat. Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope everyone is doing well. It's possible that not many people notice about me, but I used to be a serial dater. Now that I've just said that, I'm realizing that I'm a chronic oversharer, so probably a lot of people know about that. But if you're new to my channel or you don't know me in person, then you probably won't know that. So now you do. All that I'm trying to say is that I went on a lot of dates because I loved getting to know new people. I loved hearing their experiences. I loved coming into contact with different kinds of people and learning from them. But with that new knowledge and all of those experiences, a lot of bad dates were bound to happen. And I've had my fair share of, traumatizing dates, weird dates, cringe dates, rude dates, mean dates. I would say that basically anything that's horrible, dating-wise, I've experienced it. I have experienced some good things, but let's be real, they were mostly bad because I used to date only men. But in this day and age, seeing the economic and social state of the world right now, I don't really go on that many dates anymore. And while not going on dates anymore provides me with a lot of free time, peace of mind, and just general happiness, I do still have this yearning for knowledge, this yearning for experiences, bad or good, and I just don't have those anymore. But instead of putting myself through that hell again, I'm going to be reading about other people's bad experiences on dates. This way, I get the joy, I get the amazement, I get the astonishment, I get the shock, I get the trauma, but I don't actually have to go through it myself. The horrible dating stories that I'm going to be reacting to today were selected for me by my best friend Sarah, who mostly got them off the Reddit forum Dating Hell. So without further ado, let's see what these people were up to. Oh yeah, she a lyricist, she a poet. First horrible dating story that I'm reading right now is called Turns Out Lies Do Come True. I love this title. It's very ominous. It kind of gives off a dark, twisted fairy tale vibe. So I'm curious to see what will be going on. I went for dinner with a guy after a mutual friend had set us up for a date. For context later on, I am female, and we love that for you. The date was awful. We had nothing in common. Completely different sense of humors, completely different values, long awkward pauses, just about everything you can think of. Not to mention the fact that he was a show-off and incredibly materialistic. He'd compliment my shoes so he could tell me how expensive his were, that sort of thing. I was polite, but knew that there was no way I would be willingly seeing this man again. I already really get the vibe, like sometimes you're just on a horrible date and you just have to endure it, because we women are often too polite, too kind to just get up and leave and be like, this is actually not working for me, you are not actually a good person, and I'm having a horrible time, so I'm off.
Get that fire exit door. I'm off.
But that is probably what we should be doing. But we're always so concerned with like our safety mostly, which is a very valid concern. But we're also so concerned with this man's self-worth and his ego that we don't want to make them feel like bad about themselves, even though they should. Some of them should. My friend was giving me a ride home, but I couldn't get there for another 30 minutes. To my surprise, given how badly dinner had gone, this guy offers to buy us a drink while we wait. Honestly, I should have just said no thanks. Exactly, but like I just said, it's hard to say no sometimes. We get our drinks and sit down at a table when he asks me if he can borrow my phone to send a message to his mother. I ask him why. He churns out all his BS, and I reluctantly hand over my phone, open on the new message screen, and watch him typing his message. There is no way that I would be on a first date with a man I don't know and hand him my phone unless it was like a very dire situation and he needed immediate help that he could not provide for himself with his own phone. My phone is sacred. The amount of national security level secrets in there, I would not just offer it up to anyone. 2 minutes later, he looks horrified. He turns the phone around and shows me that you need a pin to get into my sent messages. He demands that I give him the pin and even says he's not giving the phone back until I do, throwing in some shit about how he doesn't like people having his mother's number. I made it abundantly clear to him that I have no interest in his mother or her number, and that if he doesn't give me my phone right now, I'm going to create a scene. She's going to have a proper BF.
I'm gonna have a BF. Oh my god, she's gonna have a
And she should. No, because honestly, why is this man still holding your phone after 2 minutes? Just type the message, give the phone back. Like, there's no reason for him to be holding on to it. After 5 minutes, he hands me the phone, and I look to see that this loser has sent himself a message from my phone. It reads, "Thank you so much for buying such an amazing dinner and thanks for the BJ, XX." There are several issues within that sentence, and now it is all making sense as to why you explicitly had to mention that you were a female in the beginning of your story. I was also a bit lost there for a second when you mentioned the BJ, because if 1 + 1 = 2 and then 3 + 5 = 10, then that doesn't make any sense. So now I'm very curious to see if you asked him about it and what he had to say to defend himself. I glare across the table at him and he's turned bright red and is giggling. I continued to stare until he tells me it was just a joke. After a few more seconds of tormenting silence, I ask him, why would I thank you for a BJ? That was exactly the part that didn't make any sense to me. He squirms. He's bright red again and once again tells me it was a joke. I am failing to see the comedic element of this particular joke. She did say that they had a completely different sense of humors. Maybe it's that. Maybe this is an example of it. This time, I laugh, making it very obvious it's at him and not with him. You know, it sounds like I had you sucking my silicone dick, right? More squirming, but now he's telling me to delete it. I stand up, tell him I'll be playing along to his little lie, and telling everyone, including our mutual friend, that he's into that shit. And I leave. Obviously, I didn't go around telling people that. I just wanted him to sit in the consequences of his own stupid actions. Thankfully, I never heard from him or saw him again. I thought the end of the story was gonna go in a completely different direction. Like, I thought he was just gonna be like bisexual and trying to make some guy jealous while he's on the date with another guy, but it's actually a woman, but he wants the other guy to think that he was with a man because that would make him more jealous. Are you guys following what I'm saying, or does that not make sense? That is just where my mind went to, I guess. But if he was not actually trying to make somebody else jealous, then I really don't understand why he would do that, because it is not at all funny. I love that this girl still chose the higher route and decided to be the bigger person about it. Not everyone would have done that, so I applaud you for that. He borrowed my Nintendo Switch and asked for money. I have no clue how this is gonna play out, but I'm very interested. So this guy I was in the early stages of dating told me his PS5 had broken. He was really upset about it. He played games to decompress, much like myself, and I felt bad for him. No, don't do that. Don't ever feel bad for a man. The next time we saw each other, I let him borrow my Nintendo Switch. A few weeks later, he stayed the night and groped me in my sleep, and I was completely freaked out. Well, that took a turn. The pipeline from morally ambiguous situations to assault. Well, actually, I don't think that's a pipeline. I think that's a whole different pipe. I had told him I have severe PTSD from being assaulted in my sleep. You had already told him that before and he still did that. Not that not knowing that you had past experiences with that would make his behavior any more justifiable, but it certainly makes it worse. After this happened, I knew it was over. I'm very relieved to see that you made the correct moral judgment. However, he still had my Nintendo Switch and a nice backpack and I needed it back. I asked him to bring it over the next time we hung out and fortunately he did. That's so sad that you had to pretend to want to hang out again after he did that just to be sure that you would see your stuff again. The next day, I very nicely told him I didn't see a future together and wished him well. He didn't deserve this after groping me in my sleep, but I didn't want drama. I respect that, but I definitely think he needed to be scolded for that, but it's not your responsibility to do that if you don't want to. But I do wish he wouldn't have gotten away with it so easily. He responded by asking for money, because he apparently bought games for the Switch when he borrowed it. He did not ask me if he could add games to my system, and certainly didn't check to see if I would be okay paying for games I didn't want. And he hadn't mentioned it before ending the dating relationship. Yikes. I didn't pay him. Like, this is nuts. He was 31 years old and didn't even brush his teeth or shower. He made my bed smell like ass. And I was so nice and he still had the balls to ask me for money after I literally let him have my Switch for a month. The bar is in hell. And I'm back to being single and want to stay single probably forever. Abstinent sisters rise! I'm glad that you got your stuff back and that you didn't pay him. I'm glad that you ended that relationship. I do wonder at what point you figured out that he didn't shower or brush his teeth. And I hope that was on your very last date. I hope it wasn't on the first date and you were like, well, let's go on a second one. But clearly that is a horrible man and he probably deserves a criminal sentence. Waited for a month for this date only to get an awful surprise. Okay, so this happened a few months ago, but it was my worst dating experience ever. I hope. That is actually so valid that they said I hope, because sometimes we all think that our worst dates are behind us, but you honestly never know. Anyway, I, 25F and pansexual, I promise it'll matter, matched with a very pretty 24-year-old girl on Tinder. I'll be calling her Eva from now on. Eva and I started talking as soon as we matched. The conversations went from small talk to deep in the span of a few days, and I was really into this girl. She seemed to be into me just as much. So I asked her out after about a week. For a reason or another, our schedules never aligned, but we kept talking, and after about a month, we finally had plans to go out. I made a reservation at a sushi place and we met there. The date was actually really nice, even if Eva was a little off. I thought maybe she was nervous and didn't want to make her feel bad by addressing it. And since we chatted for a month prior to the date, I guess she was trying to find new topics to talk about. Eventually, we got more comfortable and dinner went by. But that's when she started to act really weird. She heavily insisted on paying for me. I told her I'd rather split 50-50 because that's what I prefer for first dates, and it took a lot of back and forth to finally be able to split the bill. Afterwards, she got fidgety, but I still thought she was just nervous. Since dinner was great and it wasn't that late, I suggested we continued our date in a nearby bar. I really wanted to spend more time with Eva, thinking that because of her schedules, we wouldn't be able to see each other again for a while. But she said no because her ride was already there to pick her up. I thought, fine, maybe she asked someone to pick her up for safety reasons and didn't want to make them wait. Then she hits me with a, Do you want to meet him? You can walk me to the car. Right there and then, I got a gut feeling that something was up, but I couldn't really put my finger on what it was. So I walked Eva to her car where this guy was waiting. When we get there, he gets out of the car, puts his hand on her waist, says, "Hi babe, did you have fun?" She nods. Then he pulls her in for a quick kiss on the lips, and after all that, he looks at me and asks, "So, are you our third?"
1, 2, 3, not only you and me, got 180 degrees.
I would be so mad wasting my time like that. Honestly, at this point, can we find a new way of saying that? Because the sentence, "Are you a third?" has become so engraved in meme culture that I just cannot take it seriously anymore. I'm angry at this point because WTF is going on here. Ava then said to him something along the lines of, "I didn't ask her yet," or something like that. But honestly, I don't remember well because I was getting angrier by the second, while piecing together what was actually going on. These two idiots just wanted a three-way. For a month straight, a girl whose Tinder profile didn't mention anything about a boyfriend or looking for a third they could hook up with was talking to me as if she wanted a relationship. To say I was floored is an understatement. I tried to stay calm and asked Eva for clarifications, but she basically told me that, yes, she had been talking to me for that long because she saw my profile that I was pansexual, but wasn't looking for hookups, and thought that talking to me would make me feel comfortable with the idea of a threesome with her and her boyfriend. Oh, and by the way, that was all she wanted from me. I went off on them, insults, shouting, and told them that that was predatory behavior. I also realized halfway my rant that her being pushy about buying me dinner might have been another tactic to guilt trip me or to make me think I owed them something. I also think that's why she offered that as well. That's also why I never personally let anyone pay for me when I'm on a date, because I don't want to feel like I owe anyone anything. It was a public parking lot, so some people nearby mentioned calling the cops on them, and with that, they pretty much fled the scene. I reported Eva on Tinder and blocked her everywhere. The way I felt used, betrayed, and dirty after this date was insane. Of course, I know I didn't do anything wrong, but damn, somehow I felt bad about myself. I don't know. I feel better now, and I'm just glad the few dates I went to after this one were genuine, even if inconclusive. That's actually horrible, and it is definitely predatory behavior like they mentioned. It is such a waste of time for both parties in the story to be talking to someone for a month, knowing that you do not want the same things from each other. Like, I'm trying to look at this from an analytical perspective. I'm like, what if her boyfriend forced her to do that and she doesn't actually want to do that? But that's just me giving women credit that they maybe do not deserve. So I'm just gonna say that they're both horrible. And that's all that needs to be said about this story. I'm happy you went on better dates after this one, although I doubt it could get much worse. It could, but it's unlikely. Terrible date. Warning, some parts are gross. One day, I was meeting up with this guy from the internet who lived in the same town as me. He told me to pick him up at a bowling alley where he was having a work party. He gets in my car, seeming a little tipsy, so I drove somewhere so he could sober up.
Drop a roll up the partition, please. I don't need you seeing Beyonce on her knees.
He ends up getting into my backseat, getting completely naked before he sobered up. So I just sat in the back with him. We didn't do anything because I felt like he wasn't in the right mind to make that decision, even though we talked about it weeks before. He started gagging, so I knew he was about to throw up. He opens the door to my car, still naked, throwing up but missing, getting it in my car. That's so fun. That's so fun. It's so fun. Yeah, so fun. He then passes out, butt naked, leaving doo-doo streaks on my seat. No, because he's so getting a cleaning bill. He was already getting it after throwing up, but this, I was calling my friend, freaking out, asking her what I should do. She told me to dump him on the side of the road. A little harsh, but fair. I would just drop him back off at the bowling alley and leave him there so someone else could help him. But not me. I just couldn't do that to him. I didn't know where he lives, and he was also naked. But where did his clothes go? Because you picked him up clothed, right? Like, I'm assuming he was at the work party at the bowling alley. Clothes. Like, are those clothes not still in the car? Did he throw up on said clothes? Potentially. I ended up driving to my house and leaving him in the backseat because I didn't know what to do. He was there for hours until the morning time. That is a very weird choice to make, but hey, whatever. Then all of a sudden, I get a call from an ex who I'd been on and off with, saying he wanted to bring me a bagel and ask about us getting back together. He said he was already out front, so I panicked because I have a naked man in my backseat. Somehow he didn't see him because of my back window tint. He had no ID and I felt like complete shit. I couldn't get the smell out of my car. I eventually sold it. So you couldn't get it out, but then you sold it. But then who bought it? Did you tell them? If you purchased a car 8 months ago that smells like doo-doo and throw up, raise your hands. Let me know. Thank you. I don't really know what to say to this. I think it's so horrible when you are planning to meet up with someone and you show up completely hammered. I just think it's a lack of respect for the person you're supposed to be meeting. I think it's very admirable of her that she still took care of him and even took him back to her house. It's good that she left him in the car and didn't take him inside, but she already did a lot more for him than I would have done. First date from hell. Insect trigger warning. Went to a girl's house last night for a first date. She just started at my job. Definitely not my type and a bit older than me, but whatever. I just wanted to get laid. Why did this person write whatever as W.E. Just write whatever. Like, it's not that hard. She seemed to be of the same mindset. Talked for a few days, then I went to her trailer last night. Oh my god. I could smell the ammonia from the cat piss as soon as I stepped out of the car. I was hoping they just dumped the litter box and went inside. Nope. The whole house smelled like fresh cat piss. It was intolerable. So I walked into the living room and I set the pizza I brought on the counter. And that's when I noticed the German cockroaches everywhere. One word flashes in my head. Nope.
Roaches!
They have German cockroaches now? These bitches be traveling all over the world.
Das war ein Befehl! Der Angriff Steiners war ein Befehl!
I look at her and she's bent over cleaning up cat shit from the floor. Like, why would you invite anyone over to this shit? Why are you now just cleaning up animal feces when you know I'd be coming over all day? My mind is racing at this point with excuses as to why I need to leave. Eventually, I settle on, hey, I forgot something in the car. I'll be right back. That seems like possibly the worst excuse that you could have come up with at that moment because she would assume that you were coming back and then you leave, but you work together, so you would have to see her again. But let me keep reading. So I walk outside, this time looking around more intently. The walls, floors, and furniture and teeming with tiny roaches. I get in my car and speed off. I send a text basically saying, hey, I'm sorry, but I just can't handle roaches. Also, I couldn't breathe. Have a good night. That's fair. At least you sent her a message letting her know what the problem was, so she could hopefully work on it. Get some bugs, be gone. She messages me back with, I'm in the process of getting rid of the bugs, and I don't know what smell you're talking about. What? First of all, you don't just get rid of an infestation like that. That's a whole process. And if you're at the point where you can't smell the cat piss anymore, then I feel very sorry for you and your 50-year-old son who has to live in that filth as well. That is indeed very strange behavior because if you're aware there are like that many cockroaches walking around in your house, why would you invite someone over? Because most people would be turned off by that, right? I know men will go to great lengths to get laid, but that is a bit extreme. She asked if we can hang out elsewhere. I haven't given her an answer. It's no, obviously. Now that I've seen how you live, I want literally nothing to do with you. When I got home, I immediately stripped and put all my clothing into scalding hot water and soap, then sprayed down the inside of my car with cleaner. Traumatizing. I really understand you because I'd be turned off by far less. I'm terrified of bugs. Definitely roaches. I would not stay for 1 second in that place. As soon as I saw that, I wouldn't even come up with an excuse. I would just say, sorry, I can't do this. Bye. I remember this one time I was dating this guy and I could just tell that he never washed his sheets or changed them in like months, maybe even years. And at the time, I didn't think it was that big of an issue. But honestly, it really should have been because it just shows that you don't really care about the environment you live in. And I know it's just something as simple as sheets, but imagine if I were to live with that man, like share a household. I just know that I would be the one having to do all the cleaning and that he would just simply not care. And I would not be down for that. So I completely understand not even wanting to just hook up in this place. That is all that I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed reading these stories. I know I did. And if I was missing going on dates, even the slightest bit, I'm not anymore now. I hope anyone who's watching now has an amazing day or, you know, a good night's sleep is good as well. And I hope to see you guys again soon in a future video. Bye.